Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary with a knife video. Today I'm going to do my most carried for the month of November. We're like the second week of December, so it's about a good time to do that. And this will just be a fun video where I show you a bunch of knives, the ones that have been in my pocket or on my person in some way most often over the last month. This is not inclusive, because there are some knives that I just pick up and carry for like a day. These are the ones that I've sort of carried for a few days, that I've favored, that I find myself kind of going back to over and over again. I do one of these about every month and a half, and it's just a fun way to look at a bunch of knives and to kind of show you what I've been carrying. And the reason that these videos arose is because I just don't, I tried to do like my top 5, my top 10 knives, and I just don't really, I was really unable to do that because what I realized was that I sort of have my favorites sort of cycle through a pattern, and so that's what you're getting here is the pattern. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Please tell me. Let's go ahead and start off with classic Spyderco. This is the Paramilitary 2. This is my S35 VN Para 2, and it's my favorite one. I've had a few Para 2s come and go. This one is here. I still have my standard Para 2, but this one probably gets carried a little more often, just because I tend to like the color and the blade style, or the blade finish, and this is my smoothest one as well. So Para 2, great knife. I think everyone knows about the Para 2 and can understand why that would be carried a lot. Since we started with Spyderco, let's stick with the theme. Manix 2 XL. This is honestly one of my favorite knives of all time. And if someone said to me, hey Kevin, I'm just looking for, sort of a hard use, well-made knife with good steel at a decent price, I would recommend the Manix 2 XL. And I actually think this is a great value. These land around $100 and you're getting like 4 inches of S30V steel. Very ergonomic, just really well put together knife. So what else have I got here for Spyderco? Oh yeah, one more. This one is one that I often carry if I'm going to something that's a little bit fancier or something like that. This is my Endura in Damascus and titanium. I really like this knife, and this is one that I don't carry a ton, but I have carried it a few more times this month than usual. But what I often do with this knife is, even the days I don't carry it, I come home and I kind of pick it up and I just fondle it and look at that amazing Damascus finish, and then put it back in the container or in its little protective bag here, and kind of move on with life. But again, great knife, definitely a favorite, and I have been carrying it quite a bit the last little while. Let's go to another one that's impressive for something of a different reason. Rather than being sort of a fine gentleman's folder, this is just a hard use combat ready blade from Freeman Outdoor Gear. Really cool. Jeff Freeman is a really cool guy, and this knife is extremely well made. One kind of neat or relevant note about this knife is that these are like handmade. Jeff does all the work and he does an amazing job. So it's practically a custom knife, but the price point is, just a little more than your average or than a high-end production knife. All right, there you go, guys. Freeman Outdoor Gear button lock flipper. Let's see. Let's stick with that hard use trend for a minute. Recon 1. You guys are familiar with this. I carry it often. It sort of makes its way into a lot of these videos. I'm a big cold steel fan, and that's gotten only worse since they've started doing the CTS XHP steel. Here's another one of my most carried, the Hunter, Ultimate Hunter. Great blade. Love some cold steel knives. And I gotta tell you, cold steel they come out with practical, usable knives that just, they're strong, they're capable, just great knives. All right, where do we want to go next? Oh, this is a good option. Boker Quand. This is one that I often carry as sort of a gentleman's folder to maybe to church or to different events that I'm going to, where you want something a little classier maybe, but again, great knife, really like it. And I gotta say, I appreciate the flipping action on this and a few other knives. I really like it when the flipper is sort of non-traditional, and you sort of look at this and you feel the flipper and you go, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this knife to go out, but as soon as you start applying pressure, the knife just flies out. And so, you know, I sort of do a light switch motion on this button. I guess push button works as well, but it's one of those where it kind of feels like you may not be able to get it to flip out well, and then when you put pressure on it, just comes flying out like crazy. Great, really neat knife. This is the AUS 8 with titanium scales. There are a number of versions of that knife. Let's move to something a little more high end. This is probably, if you were to ask me what is the best sort of all-around mid-tech knife that you know of, I would absolutely say the Southern Talk. There is literally nothing wrong with this knife. You know, there are lots of good, or there are lots of really nice, expensive knives out there. There are lots of them, right? But very few achieve all the things that this one achieves. The fit and finish on this is perfect. The blade is extremely utilitarian. But here's what really kind of elevates this knife. You have a nice big knife that only weighs about 4.5 ounces. I'm not exactly right on that, but it's extremely lightweight. When you see a titanium frame lock of this size, you pick it up and you're expecting a certain amount of weight, and this thing totally like throws you off. You're like, how can it be so light? It's actually milled out inside. You feel it in hand and it's just perfect. It just feels like it was meant to be in your hand. And so if you're a person out there who's looking to get into something a little high end, something that's, you know, special, maybe you've looked at a Sebenza or a Hinderer or, you know, something else along these lines, I've got to say, of all of the sort of mid-tech knives that I've had in my collection, this one really takes the cake. It is phenomenal for its size, its weight, its ergonomics, its quality. Just everything is totally outstanding about the Southern Talk. Now another knife that comes almost to that. Now the only issue would be maybe the size and the fact that there's only a flipper, but the Rio Leon Law designed Remedy is another knife that is just amazingly well done. You know, it feels like it should cost a lot more, and that's all I can say about it. It just feels, you know, you would go, hey, this is probably a $500 folder, but it's not. Okay, it's considerably less than that, but it is a great knife. It feels awesome in hand. Just 3D machined G10. I mean 3D machined titanium. Just a great knife. Perfect size, not too heavy. The one thing that I like about this that I kind of feel like the Talk could have used, I really like the milled titanium pocket clip. When you spend that amount of money, you kind of like to see that. And so very well done. Let's see, what do I got here? Oh yeah, a couple more to show you, and then we'll be done. I have one that's just an old standard. This has been in lots of these videos. I love this knife, and you know, if I go for a month or two without carrying it, I start to sort of get withdrawal symptoms and I have to get it out and put it in my pocket again for a while. This is my Microtech DOC. And this was one of the knives, guys, that early in my sort of collecting, when I had a pair of 2 and I had a Recon 1, and you know, I had some of the interesting, you know, a Griptilian and a Manix and a few others, but I didn't have anything that was high end. And I saw these knives when they first came out, and I was like, though, that is beautiful, right? I love the grind, I love the finishes, I love the bright blue. Now I will say this one took me a little bit to get my hands on. I've said this before, so those of you who have been around for a while, you guys could probably tell the story for me. But I wanted this color and this I wanted satin finish, no serrations, and bright blue. And you know, although there are lots of DOCs out there, it was really tough for me to find just the one I wanted. And still, if you go looking for a particular color, maybe your favorite color is green with a black blade, you may have a hard time finding just that particular one that you're really drawn to. Anyway, great knife, just big and crazy sharp. Compound grind is amazing. Just, yeah, really good knife. Highly loved. this is one that will absolutely never leave my collection. It's a very, very favorite knife of mine. Let's see. Let's do the last knife. Now, this is a knife that kind of breaks a lot of rules for me. And, you know, in a review of this knife, I gave this knife a positive review, even though I pointed out that on paper it shouldn't be that cool, okay? 154 cm blade steel is only, you know, it's mediocre. It's not the best blade steel ever. It's not bad. 7.9 ounces is way too heavy for, you know, what I would consider a good EDC weight. It's very, very thick, you know, 5/8 of an inch thick. And so there's a lot of things about this knife that you should say, yeah, this thing is no good. No one should buy one of these. But the reality is, this is one of my favorite knives. It's definitely my favorite zero tolerance. I just love the lines. Look at that recurved blade, the swedge on top. I like how the blade kind of swells. Thumb ramp, finger choil. Everything about this knife is just awesome to me. Even though, as I say, you know, on paper, you know, when you think about this, the actual specs of the knife, you go, yeah, it's not that great. But for some reason, I totally love it. All right, so there you go, guys. That's all I've got for you. Those were my most carried knives for about the last month and a month. Maybe it's a little over a month now. But I've had these in my pocket a lot. I've really enjoyed them, and I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll talk to you soon.